Here, yeah, let's get straight to it. I'm right back at you like I never left, and I'm gonna go this hard to my last breath. It's Lil Kenny Russell, Canoom, Consul, Moon. You already know what you're gonna get when you step in this room. You're now dealing with Canoom. Yeah, I'm here. And while I'm here, I'm gonna make the information direct and clear because a lot of y'all can't hear. Yeah. Now, welcome back to Make My Ancestors Great Again. This is another episode of My Thoughts. And as the title states, Deven Rogers, brother Deven Rogers, at that. He put brother before his name. On My Thoughts 308. Now, I wasn't going to do a My Thoughts Wednesday. I was going to do another glimpse into history. But I seen this on another gentleman's platform. So I went and did some research and looked it up. This gentleman is speaking about white privilege and a lot of the stuff that they have going on around the whole Christian religion. The consensus is some people believe, well, he speaks about that. The Black Hebrew Israelites, you have so many people that believe that this original Hebrews and Israelites were black and all this type of stuff. Then you have what he's saying is the European, the white people, quote unquote, saying that, I'm sorry, black people saying that white people believe that they dominate the Christian religion. Okay. So he was speaking, just saying that God is neither of that. It doesn't matter if this God is black, white. He goes on and say he's Middle Eastern, which means you're in the middle of the world. You're not by the equator. You're not black. You're not by the pole. So you're not that white. So this Middle Eastern man was God. So he's going on and on and on and on. But he said some things that dealt with me, okay, and my ancestry, the African continent. If anyone says something about Africa, and I see it, I would like to address it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to listen to the ancestors and we'll get straight to it. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and I thank you for watching. The videos that I'm going to play, you can look this up. Christian privilege. I believe that's what it is. Brother Deven Rogers, you can look this up. I don't own the content. I'm going to give my thoughts, opinions, and scrutiny. I believe this is a teaching moment. And this is a fair use act when I play Deven Rogers material. Okay. Let's look at the ancestors.
One thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And I said there's no exception.
I love the gentleman. I love this great, mighty warrior king, Dr. John Henry Clark. That's a pivotal statement for what we're going to be going to deal with going forward. Okay. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And there's no exception. Very pivotal. The European, he wrote the history for everyone on this planet. No one repudiated or refuted what he put in history. He took his history book out and he wrote the history of the Chinese. The Chinese has never disputed that. I told you Monday that the Western thought is the prevailing thought of the world, and it's nowhere is it larger than the United States of America. Okay. So what the European has put forth is everything that we've ever known. You see, anything that you wanted to know, the actual thing or the truth for that matter, when you wanted to get to the bottom of the truth, you had to do your own digging and go around what was already put forth. Case in point, or just for instance, Christopher Columbus discovered America. This went on because this what the European brought and put before the world. No one disputed it for many, many years until fact finders and people that wanted to know the truth had to dig into that story. Okay. You don't hear that much about Christopher Columbus anymore because it was disproved that this man ever found America and all this type of stuff. So I'm just letting you understand who you're dealing with. Whatever's been put forth into this universe, primarily Western academia, which is the European, that's his power source, because the European is a Western man. He come from Europe, okay? So he's the power source, and what the European wants to be out, he puts it out. Any information he wants to disseminate, he disseminates it to you. No one else has that type of power. There's no channel on the news that's called Indian channel, which is nothing but Indian. They have their own broadcast channel and it comes in the United States. Zulu or Malian channels. You don't have any of that that's broadcasting and put forth in the United States of Americas. They won't do that. When you go to Egypt and whatever Egypt has on, that's Egyptian. If you go to Kenya, whatever they have on, that's Canadian. See? So the power source of the world is the European. And again, everything he put forth was for European domination of the world. Let's listen to this brother, Deven Rogers. I'm going to let you see the privilege and a sense of entitlement and the ownership in which he speaks, how he speaks from an elevated platform, because he's this dressed up little white man. He doesn't have any knowledge. He doesn't have any respect and dignity about himself. If you get up here and try to justify the things that he's doing, and he said, I'm not doing this for any justification. This won't justify the act or nullify the act, but it still remains. Let me let you see what I'm speaking about. This is Deven Rogers. Let's look at it.
And you know what? Africa was
the audio is very low, so I'm going to turn it up. That's the way it was. So bear with me. I want you to hear this. It's very low.
Right. And you know what? Africa was a wicked place. And
right off the bat, Africa, I'm sorry, but Africa was a wicked place. Prove it. Show me where Africa was a wicked place. See, he's speaking from a standpoint of the Bible. You see, all this is about one people say that God is black and one people say that God is white. And he's putting an end to all of that nonsense and saying there's one race, the human race, and we all came from Adam and Eve. So why here would he make a point that Africa was a wicked place? Why would he do that? If God doesn't care about any of this type of stuff, black, white, Africa, Europe, any of these things, why is he making this a point? You see, the European will tell him himself without knowing that that's what he's doing. He will reveal himself to you. Let's continue. Africa was a wicked place. Is there any proof to that? Even in the Bible, they say these people had slaves. Show me where they were doing wicked acts and all this type of stuff. And the slavery story that they discuss in the Bible, that's religious written literature. Not one word of it is true, as I stated Monday. Aziz Herzog and Israel Finkelstein in 1985, two Israeli archaeologists, put this notion to rest. So you have biblical scholars today still over there digging and say, oh, I found some grounds to say this is real. That's a lie. These are biblical archaeologists. Nothing of anything substantial has ever been found that can substantiate the claims made in the Bible about this Exodus. Not one thing. Let's continue.
you know what? They're just in sin, going around.
They were in sin. Africa was a wicked place, and they were in sin, going around
Half naked, smoking drugs, worshiping Satan.
Going around half naked, smoking drugs, worshiping Satan. Where in the hell would this man here, brother Deven Rogers, Where would this silly man get something like that from? Can you show me any scriptures in the Bible where it said these people walked around half naked, smoking drugs, worshiping Satan? Show me that. I want to see it in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, any of this stuff. Show it to me. I'm dying to see it. These people had an elevated, that he's speaking about, I'm talking about in terms of religious literature now. The people he's speaking about had an elevated civilization who supposedly had Hebrews as slaves to build their elevated civilization to make it have more grandeur. The temples, the pyramids, never before seen. They came up with a load of crap saying that the Hebrews built this stuff in slavery. So a bunch of crack smoking, half naked Satan worshipers, how can they have a civilization that was elevated past the Hebrew, but they were in here in sin? Moses, the bringer of Yahweh, you cannot have Yahweh, Abraham, you cannot have the story of God without this so-called Moses. None of this stuff is real, but I'm speaking to you for the sake of the religious literature. We're discussing the Bible because that's what he's discussing. You do not have Yahweh. You cannot have God without Moses. You really need to be able to deal with that, people. You see? Let's get this right, African people. You cannot have the Bible without Moses. Moses never existed. So whoever picked up a book and penned the name Moses with a pen name, Moshe, or whatever you want to call it in all these other languages, this gentleman never existed. So how would you have ever been able to get Yahweh, Abraham, Israel, the story of the Egyptian slaving people? How would you be able to get this if it wasn't for the first 5 books of Moses? Let's continue. This man is just making up nonsense.
And you know, God is not just the God of the white man. He's the God of the whole earth. And he's not just, okay, oh, you know, they're just worshiping their God. That's okay. God's not thinking that.
God is not just the God of the white man. Another point, why is he using this as a point? Okay. If God is God of all, he wasn't the African people God too. What made them get outside of God? Why were they demon possessed, crack smoking, naked, evil people? How did they get outside of that? The Bible told him this. See, he's speaking from the Bible and he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's trying to prove that God has no imagery, no geographical location, nothing. He's just a God for everyone. So why wasn't this same God the God in Africa? And what would make me think that what they were practicing got interfered by the European, bastardized, corrupted? Now we see it put their way. And the way they're doing it is right. And the way that the Africans were doing it before they came along, this is how the story goes now, was able to make them slaves and build all their stuff. Because see, they were in a higher civilization than these Hebrew Israelites. This man is just speaking nonsense and he does not know what he's speaking about. He's using this to justify slavery and all this type of stuff of African people. He's doing that without even knowing it. You see? The African was in sin. He was smoking drugs. He was half naked and he was worshiping Satan. Okay, if the white man didn't come and save him, get him out of that sin, he would have been doomed. This is what he's saying. Let's continue.
Expects everyone to worship him. And when there's a part in the world where they're not worshiping him and they're just worshiping whatever devil, he's going to do something about it.
Okay, this man don't know what he's speaking about, you guys. That's one. I want to show you one more from this same gentleman. Let's look at this.
I'm sure there's a lot of Africans that were brought over into slavery, which wasn't right, but they got the gospel when they got here.
I'm sure there was a lot of Africans brought over here in slavery, which this wasn't right, but they got the gospel when they got here. You see, anytime a person say, but, that lets you know it's time for a letdown. He's using a point that should have never been used when you're going to discuss it like this. If God is evenly God of all the world, there's no reason to ever justify anything that went on in slavery. You see, he's not trying to just be apologetic about it. He's not trying to say, unfortunately, these things happen. I don't have no type of answer for it. I wasn't there. It's sad history. That is history and things like that. He's not trying to do it like that. He's trying to wash it away by saying, yeah, slavery is wrong, but the people that they brought over in slavery was so wrong that at least they found God when they got here. That's the benefit. That's the beneficial factor that he's saying. They benefited from getting God when they got here, and when they died after all that slavery, at least they went into heaven. Wow, it's a goddamn shame. This silly white man, this European man, needs a first-class ass whooping. He's a dumbass. He's a damn fool, and he has jackass syndrome. You see, this man don't have no type of dignity, morality, integrity, or self-respect. Anybody that I listen to, look at him. He looked like a racist. I'm sorry to say that, but I can look at some European people, and just by the way they carry themselves, he don't even see that he's telling on himself right before everyone's eyes. He looks like a racist. You see, look at him. Look how he wears his suit. He wears his suit. Look how he's like a little dweeb. And it's not to get personal with him, because nothing he's saying is true. It just lets you know who he is. Okay. Because the person that benefited most from slavery was this man right here. People that look like this man here. They got Mammy. They got old Mama Medea. They got wet nurses to babysit and feed their children, breastfeed. They would let Black women breastfeed their young, suckle them. They would cook all their foods, clean their houses, build everything for them. The people that benefited most from slavery was people that looked just like this man here. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But at the end, they got to go to heaven. I give a damn about no heaven. They called hell when they was here. He should never use that as no justification of at least some of them went to this Christian so-called heaven. How did he know? Has he ever been there? Let's continue. I hate a jackass like this. And I don't hate this man. I said, I hate a jackass like this type of personality inside of a human being. I don't like this type of person. Let's continue.
And you know what? I bet you there's a lot of Africans that if they hadn't have been brought over, not saying it was right, don't misunderstand, not justifying the slavery in the situation.
You just justified it. If they didn't come over, they would have never gotten under this Jesus the Christ, the dead white man on the cross. That's justification. Now you're saying not justified. You're double talking. Go ahead, continue, silly white man.
But God, I still believe, used it. And now I'm sure there's a lot of Africans that got the gospel, and they're in heaven right now because they got the gospel. You know, what would be better? For them to have lived their entire life in Africa free.
Yes. It's none of your business. If God is God of all the world, he's seen what was going on there. Why he couldn't intervene from there? See, this is what kills me about religious people. God had to come send colonizers in boats with guns and weaponry to snatch them off their continent, snatch them from their geographical locations to bring them to the Western world so they can get westernized by European people and Christianized and given a Greco-Roman, Judeo-Christian God that doesn't even look like them. The first images of God, as I said Monday, was black as his shirt. This man doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And this is a scary type of man to get up in front of church to say all this nonsense and what's supposed to be known as a place of God. No God resides here. No God resides in this man's heart. He don't see anything wrong with slavery. because at least the people who went through slavery, who was ripped from their mothers, their children, their wives, their parents, their everything, their language, their natural habitat, at least they died and was able to go to heaven after getting their ass whooped for all them years, brutal conditions, some dying on the way here, some getting punched out of their mother womb, some getting their skulls crushed, some getting hung, burned. At least they got heaven because they were able to be Americanized and Europeanized by people that look like this dweeb here. This man looked like a little mouse, looked like Stuart Little or something. Let's continue.
Doing their voodoo or whatever.
Voodoo don't go back that far, sir. Okay, they were using sorcery and things of that nature, depending on what stage he's speaking about. I'm thinking he's dealing right now with the time period of slavery. So voodoo was around then. But when Moses was around, like he said, Africa was a wicked place. There was no voodoo at the time. Let's continue.
And then dying and going to hell, right? Or what happened? And then they go to heaven. They get the opportunity. Now, again, it doesn't just
get the opportunity. Then he doubled down. It doesn't justify. You just justify it.
Justify it. The ends do not justify the means, but this is how God works. This is what God does in the Bible.
This is how God works, and this is what he does in the Bible. That's a silly God in the Bible. That's a jackass God in the Bible. And I don't give a damn who don't like it. That's my thoughts on this. This man, Deven Rogers, don't have no home training. He's no man. Anybody that follow him deserves to go to hell where he's going, because he just put all them people in hell who did not, if they didn't go through slavery, they would have died and went to hell. You going to the same hell they went to, because the God that you're describing, he loves the continuous perpetual slavery that's talked about and discussed in the Bible. He loves it. He don't have no problem spewing out these silly, nonsensical scriptures and perpetuating it so it can continue and continue and continue. He love it. You don't have no problem with it. At least they was able to go to heaven. And whoever didn't fall victim to slavery, they stayed over there and went to hell and was doing voodoo and butt naked and Satan. I'd rather go to my hell than somebody else's heaven. Send me to the so-called Satan, devil, African hell before you send me to a white man's heaven. That's my thoughts on this. I'm sorry, African people. That's just how I am. I'd rather go to a hell where I know my family is there. My people are there. My looks of beauty is there. Everyone who I'm accustomed to is there. Than to be some spectator or some slave in a white man's heaven, you see. So I didn't want to go on a rant, but this man deserved a certain amount of time because he don't know what he's speaking about. He's not intelligent. He's just by the book type of guy. He's not even good at doing it by the book because, again, he would have had scriptures to back up anything he said if it was biblically based. Nowhere in the Bible does it say at least they got to go to heaven after slavery. Nowhere in the Bible does it say they were over there being butt naked Satan worshipers, smoking crack and drugs. Nowhere does it say any of that. That's my thoughts on all this. It's Lil Kenny Russell, Canoe Consul, Moon. You already know what you're going to give me step in this room. You're now doing Canoe. This is what I do, and I love to do it. And before I take back what I said, I add some more to it. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I thank you for watching. If you feel like you want to do something for me, like and subscribe because it won't cost you a fee. Education and preparation is the first step to retaliation. Before you pick up a weapon or silly religion such as the one this man is peddling, pick up some knowledge. If anybody's offended by anything you heard, I mean every word. Yeah. See y'all Friday.